Just taking a bit of a break. I'm editing a video at the minute about starting the e-commerce business, the journey. So it's like a follow-on to, I did one on how I created my tech business, and then I did another one in the middle about leveraging success. I think I did a live on it too. And I'm just editing one about starting the e-commerce business and leveraging all the things that I've learned in the tech business to start the new business. And it got me thinking about a bit of a conversation I had with a very good friend of mine the other day. And it was off the back of something that I noticed Chris Williamson had said on Modern Wisdom podcast, one of the best podcasts ever. If you watch that, it's absolutely brilliant. He has some great guests on now. He's done very well on that podcast. And what he said was this. He said, there is no greater waste of time trying to justify yourself to people who have a life you don't want. And I think it was like a story, and I'd sort of added it to mine. And my friend had interpreted it different to me, and he was like, that's nonsense, that. And we got into a bit of a debate about it, but my view of what that meant is related to this. Basically, I'd interpreted that phrase that Chris Williamson said to mean the title of this live, which is, if you ever need advice, it's always better to get that advice from somebody who knows what they're talking about in that field. And what does that mean, right? It means looking up to people that have already got some success in that area that you don't have. And this is an area that I strongly believe is true. So, we've all got friends, and we've all got like people that we know, but I just think that it's important when you take advice from someone who you're actually getting it from. And you see this a lot, right? And I can give you a few examples. So like in this case, right, when it comes to business, I'm just editing the video about creating an e-commerce business. Been in tech, obviously tech business for 12 years, so I'm no stranger to business. But the specific niche of starting e-commerce is quite new to me. So in that regard, I will look up to people that have done it before and seek advice from people that have done e-commerce before. So I'll be looking at e-commerce giants and things like this, which is great. What I wouldn't be doing is taking opinions from sort of random people, because what you might find in your life is, all your friends and things are great. You might have even grown up with them, like in my case. And people are often quite quick to throw in an opinion, right, just off the cuff. And you've got to be careful that you don't let these, because quite often people will criticize, and you've got to be careful that you don't let the criticism affect you. Hello, folks. Thanks for joining. You've got to be careful that people don't, the people that comment, you don't accept the criticism. Well, sometimes you've got to be polite with people, but you've got to make sure that when you source advice from someone, you're getting it from someone that knows what they're talking about. And I wrote a great one down here. So it's Napoleon Hill, very, very famous author. He said, opinion is the cheapest commodity on earth. Just think about that. People's opinions, cheapest commodity on earth, right? It is. And quite often when you're, working away at something like that, people that are not in that sphere will give you advice. So examples all over the place, right? I get advice from people about a whole range of things, right? Including relationship advice from people that are in a totally different scenario to me, and you see this a lot. Like it quite happens with if you think about relationships, quite happens with like women. They talk to one another about the problems quite a lot, which is good friend group. But if you were, say, struggling in a relationship as a woman or as a man, right? If you were struggling in a relationship and you wanted some advice on how to sort of solve it and fix it, yeah, you don't need to keep saying hi. You've said it like 500 times. right? All right, carry on then. Right, so if you had a problem with someone like in a relationship and you just kept saying, you wanted like some advice from someone, from a friend, would you go to someone that's just had a breakup if you wanted to fix it? Or someone that's single or someone that's done the same as you? Chances are they're going to talk you around to joining them being single. Whereas if you want to fix it, you should actually look to someone who's, say, got a solid relationship, maybe in a marriage that's worked out, something like that. So you've got to be careful of surrounding yourself with the right people that reflect what you want. So in business, when it comes to business, if you want some business advice, do you go to your friend that's stuck in a 9 to 5 job and ask them whether you should start a business or keep your job? Because they're gonna be like, oh, it's too risky, because that's the life that they lead, and it is very, very important, right? So yeah, this is just it. In other terms, like if you want fitness advice, would you go to a friend that's overweight? Same again. If you want advice on, say, I don't know, what would we go for here? Well, it's kind of anything, basically. So, the crux of this is always be careful on who you take advice off, because in your life, you'll always get, family are bad for this, right? They're always looking out for your best interests, right? They're always looking out for you, and particularly if you're going through like difficulty in your relationship, they'll always side with you and hate the other person. But they'll always I remember this when I was growing up and I was taking risks. My dad at first was very, very risk averse with me, and he used to always try and say, sorry, don't. My dad was like, oh, I wouldn't do that. It looks risky. Just get a job and all the rest of it. And now he's really settled down because he's seen me do it a few times, and I've ended up, I'm not caused myself any big problems or anything like that. There's never been any real big disasters. Yeah, I talked about when I moved job once, and then 2 weeks later I had to go back crawling back and get my old job back. But, I've never ever made an absolute diabolical error. So now my dad has kind of changed tune. He's now supporting me. Every time I take a risk, he doesn't sort of try and scare me off, right? So he's kind of used to his son going for these things and making it work. Or when I say make it work, it's not instant results, but he knows that I will grind through and get the results, right? And it kind of, this touches on, the term, you might have heard, you are the sum of the 5 closest people to you. I don't know if that's the exact term, but essentially it means that the people that you spend the most time with, right? And they say 5 people, that's the kind of, this theory of 5 closest people to you. They're the people that are most likely to influence you the most. So it is important that who you work with, and who you spend your time with, you're going to get the most out of. Because if you're with a kind of, well, I don't want to say the term energy vampire, someone that's sort of down in the dumps and this, that, and the other, they'll just drag you down eventually. Sometimes, when you spend time with people, you might be dragging them up, and that's fine, but you can't stay there forever. I like to sort of, speak to and take advice off people that are more successful, basically. Which leads me on to another point. I've always been a massive advocate of coaching or having mentors, having people to look up to. I've always had it, right? And I've had mentors in loads of different areas of my life, whether it's personal training for fitness, meditation with Roberto, business coaching, Scott, life coaching, all these different coaches, right? I've got a jiu-jitsu coach. All of these people have got specialisms in an area that I want to gain skills, right? So that's what we do. We look to people that have specialisms in an area that you want to gain skill. So in a nutshell, if you're going to take a big risk, right, in life, in any area, why would you accept the criticism of someone who is not living that life, right? It's same as like, yeah, you know, when you're doing something, you get a little bit of snide comments or criticism or something like that. You've kind of got to ignore it, right? And that's it. So there's not really much else I could say on it other than that, you know, I've always been a fan of coaching. Just if you do take some coaching for anything, you know, or look up to a mentor, if you can get a free mentor, it's fantastic. Usually the best mentors need paying or rewarding in some way because they're giving up their time, you know, so it's best to pay someone basically. If you do, whenever you take coaching, and this is the same for things like therapy and things like this, because it costs money, a lot of people don't like taking coaching because, you know, we don't want to part with our money. It's hard to part with. We don't want to. We want to preserve cash. But if you're investing in your own education, I think that's fantastic. If you do invest in your own education, then there's always a time when you stop. So if you think about most people, if they do pay for coaching or pay for some sort of mentorship or pay for therapy, a lot of people quit when they think they're ready too early. And I always think you should run it on a bit longer. It's not about learning. So I did this with Adam and personal training. I probably had Adam around for about a year longer than I needed to. A whole year longer when I used him as a one-to-one PT. Because he pretty much taught me everything within, it's about 2 or 3 years I was working with Adam. I'd say in the first year I pretty much learned everything I needed to learn from him. So the second year, what was it about? Why did I carry on paying him? Well, it might sound like I was wasting money, but having that repeatable habit and having someone hold you to account, even when you know what you're doing, sometimes you need to let it run on. Don't stop coaching early because you'll not have formed the habit. You need to get into a good routine. So I always think you should run on a bit longer than you think. Oh, sorry, a bit longer than your wallet thinks, because I know we want to save money. And every time I've done that, I've always got the benefit from it. So most of the coaching, yeah, sometimes you can choose someone that you don't. I have had a coach which I've paid an absolute fortune for and not got anything back. But most of the time, if you choose someone that you know knows what they're talking about, has success or the relevant skills in the area that you want, you pay for it, and then you will get a return eventually. I've done this many times. You know, particularly with like Scott with the business coaching, Adam with personal training, health and fitness. You know, I learned everything there about what is the best training split, how to do it, how to get the maximum benefit and use of your time, what are the fundamentals. You know, I'd been training all my life in the gym, but I was ego lifting, you know what I mean, just not quite doing it right. So I was getting rid of a lot of bad habits, getting the form correct, all these things, and learning what are the best training splits as well. So I got a lot of benefit. That's all I could say. All right. Thank you for your million comments. I'm not going to read them because you've just spammed it. But I really don't know what. My money don't talk. I don't know. Maybe you should get it to talk. Thank you, everyone. And hope you enjoyed that short little live. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe. See you all next time.